All right, guys, when I started this podcast, I promised you that we would talk about some really important topics. I'm going to deviate from that today. And it's important in a sense, but it's so ridiculous and so stupid. And I'm so sick of it that I finally just decided to address it in a podcast. And I think y'all know what debate I'm talking about. This is debate that tears up every single social media outlet, man. And I'm not talking about that GOAT debate, greatest of all time. I'm not talking about LeBron versus Mike and Mike versus Bird and Bird versus Magic and all of that. No. That pales in comparison to this stupid ass argument. And this argument is that a travel or not a travel? That's a travel. That's not a travel. Folks, let me tell y'all, it's the most sickening discussion ever. You know why it's sickening? Number one, because the culprits, the ones that lead this charge, are two types of people that I hate. And I usually don't use the word hate, but I do. I hate these cats. Number one, it's a troll. I hate a troll, man. I hate a troll. And then I also hate a purist. Boy, both of them mixed together will make you throw up. And I'm going to say this. When you go to a troll's page, you know the troll, zero post. And if they do have a post, it's a selfie with doggy ears and a doggy tongue hanging out. A lame. There is no basketball picture whatsoever. But they're experts. Real live experts. And then we got the purists. Back in my day, that's a violation. All right, let me talk to y'all about the rules of basketball. When the 13 original rules came about, James Naismith didn't have any science behind this. You do realize that you couldn't even dribble initially unless you were dribbling one time to create a better angle to pass. I want you to think about that for a second. Couldn't even dribble. So as the rules began to formulate and they saw as the game continued to evolve that, hey, we need to insert this rule. We need to do this. We need to widen the lane. We need to create, a half court line instead of being able to play the full court. Right, as a full possession, like everybody used the entire court at that time. So the rules started to evolve out of necessity. So when you think about the original definitions of traveling, right, and even to this day, why would you consider a foot that's on the ground when receiving a pass to count as your first step? And I'm going to make an analogy. All right. You go to the bottom of a stairwell. You're about to walk up a flight of stairs. If you step up to the first step, do you ever consider the foot that's still on the floor a step? Guys, I'm telling you, is these rules were arbitrary. Do you know why the goal is 10 feet above the ground? Most don't. It's because the balcony at the Springfield, Massachusetts YMCA was 10 feet. There was no science behind this. Arbitrary. Oh, and you do know it was 9 on 9. It was 18 players on the floor on a court that was half the size of an NBA regulation court.
I showed them 2 peach baskets I'd nailed up at each end of the gym. And I told them the idea was to throw the ball into the opposing team's peach basket. I blew a whistle, and the first game of basketball began.
And what rules did you have for your new game, Dr. Naismith?
Well, I didn't have enough, and that's where I made my big mistake. Well, after that first match, I was afraid they'd kill each other, but they kept nagging me to let them play again. So I made up some more rules. The most important one was that there should be no running with the ball. That stopped tackling and slugging. We tried out the game with those rules. and we didn't have one casualty. We had a fine, clean sport. 10 years later, basketball was being played all over the country. And in 1936, I saw it played for the first time at the Olympic Games.
I want you to think about that for a second. James Naismith was winging it. People after that was winging it. But the beautiful thing about NBA or general basketball players, the athleticism of our sport will always push the envelope. So athleticism started to change certain things. People started to cover more distance in between dribbles. The whole idea of the straight up and down dribble started to leave. And look, when and one came about, it changed this ish forever. I'm telling you, it will never be the same once and one came in, because they started to do things, though many people still believe these are violations, whatever. They were violations when they were putting on a show. But it was ways to clean up some of those moves that Hot Sauce and Bone Collected, Sick Witted, and all of these guys were doing, Alamo. It was a way to clean it up. And a lot of the good players started to take pieces of that. Allen Iverson with that hanging cross started to take pieces. And man, ball control evolved, man. It changed. But I really don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about something that is the elephant in the room. And that big ass elephant that's sitting on my couch is the fact that 0 players have read the rule book. Oh, Lord, I'm about to have a whole bunch of people in the thread. I have. I've read your lie. You haven't. You haven't. I've trained every single level. NBA, WNBA, high-level European. I've had 5 McDonald's All-Americans. We have 100+ all-state selections, 400 pros worldwide that we work with, over 4,500 athletes in 12 countries. Right? I've been to 19, but I've trained in 12. Guys, no one that I've ever worked with, some will be Hall of Famers, have read the rule book. So let's get this right. We're actually allowing our career to hang in the balance based on secondhand information. Man, bruh, cuz, folk, whatever y'all like being called. I'm going to call y'all cuz or maybe bro. You're going to let secondhand information, the information that your coach told you in the YMCA league back when you were 6, you're still holding on to it because you did something. You don't remember what you did. There was no video. You never reviewed it. And you got called for a travel. So you registered somewhere deep in your brain that I should never do this again. Or a coach saw you doing something and was like, nah, that's a travel. That's a travel. Trust me. So we were relying on other people instead of doing something that was very, very important. Picking this thing up. And now you don't even have to pick this thing up. You can go online. Y'all won't even do that. And a lot of it is because you still, even when you read this, you're not going to always get it. It's complex. Because see, you think traveling is this one definition. That's when I know you don't know anything about the travel rule or traveling violations, right? Let me tell you, in the college handbook, there are 7 articles under the traveling definition. Section 5, articles 1 through 7. And I'm telling you, if you didn't know that there's a different rule for when you receive the ball at a standstill with both feet on the court or with 1 foot on the court versus when you are receiving the ball in motion with both feet on the floor, 1 on the floor, or ending a dribble, right? Where many of us, this is what's been tearing everybody's brain up, that extra step, or you believe it's an extra step, the extra step at the end of a dribble when you do it up and under, like many WNBA players have used for years. Guys have gotten away from it because they thought it was a travel, but in fact, it's not a travel, right? And the rule states that you can lift the pivot, but it shall not return to the floor. So we got multiple definitions and we got to know all of them. And most of the times the silly ass arguments online deal with people conflating two of the rules, mixing them together. Well, you can't lift your pivot. No, you can't lift your pivot at the start of a dribble. True, until it's out of the hands. It doesn't have to hit the ground because that used to be the thing, it has to hit the floor. No, it has to be out of your hand before that pivot foot is lifted. Right? But that's not the same at the end of the dribble. So, guys, I'm going to encourage you to do something. And I'm telling you, man, this is going to be crazy, man. Check this out. I got to do my Kevin Hart. Listen, man, break, listen. Never mind. Listen. Okay, listen. Okay. Read the rule book. It's simple. Read the rule book. Read the rule book. If you have any questions, ask. Right? Who do you ask? You ask a coach, you ask a referee. One of the things that we as an organization throughout the years, I used to bring in one of my close friends who's an NBA rep, and he's been a great asset to our program throughout the years. One of the best NBA referees on top of that. I won't mention his name right now because I don't know if it's cool yet. I'll check with him, and then I definitely mention him. Everybody knows who knows me knows him. And then I have another good friend who was a college referee. And high school referee Roger Sashington. I can throw his name out because he's not important. But my mans and them both would review video. I would send it. I would force the hand. I know I got on their nerves. I would send them something. Look at it right now. Look at it right now. And they would look at it and they would say like, D, right off. I can't tell you right now. It looks like this. But let me put it in front of some other referees. They would put it in front of other referees. This was 10, 11 years ago starting. And we've done it consistently. Every time I had something that I thought was questionable that I was teaching, this wasn't something I saw, something that I was creating. Why would this be a travel based on my understanding of the rule book? And so they would put it in front of officials and they would get a judgment. And that judgment would be yay or nay, travel or no travel. But the great thing about it was I never asked whether or not this is a travel. I asked them how to make it legal. So the answers were always, this is a travel because of this. To make it legal, do this. And that's all I needed to know. And the beautiful thing about it is my boys are honest. They always say this, hey, D, y'all are ahead of us. Referees aren't in the gym creating moves like, hey, yo, check this. Hey, I'm probably going to do this next week. Oh, check this out. James Harden probably going to try something like this, I'm guessing. So let's be ahead. They cannot be ahead. The players will always be ahead of the officials in this. But this book is open to everybody. And let me tell you, if you are a small ball player, right? If you are a very unathletic ball player, do you realize that these rules can take your game to another level if you pay attention to them? That if you just pay attention to certain rules and understand the rules, you will be able to maximize every single ounce of your athleticism. Skill kills, man, I'm telling you. Knowledge kills, but knowledge that is applied kills. So that's what it is, guys. And I'm telling you, these debates are great. And like I said before, I'm happy that big platforms like B-Ball Breakdown and Dev in the Lab are now bringing these to the masses. Because I was tired of arguing these points. I had gotten to the point where I just say, okay. And let me tell you a great, quick story. I posted a video about 3 years ago. Right at 3 years. And it was all questionable moves that I'd already checked out with NBA officials, right? Most college most of the moves in college would have been legal. So I posted it. 450 plus comments. I had 98,000 views. It was my first time something went viral. And lo and behold, only 25 comments or so were affirmative. Everything else was this traveling bullshit. This makes me sick to see somebody like you train our youth. You are a disgrace. I got everything, almost death threats. I had somebody threatening to beat me up when they saw me. And I sent address and everything. Meet me. Because we will fight about this. And that's the truth. That's what really happened. Only 25. Guess what? What do you think happened when I posted it a year later? Take a wild guess. A little over half now commented in the affirmative. They were like, absolutely, these look good. And then the other half was still this bullshit. I'm going to kill you when I see you. Cut your tires and cut your neck. That was the majority. And I'm not joking. Some of this stuff is that crazy on social media. So then I posted it 3 years after. Not one single comment saying that it was a travel or any of the moves were travels. See, I'm telling you, people who are leaders aren't shaped by the norm. They create and mold the norm. I didn't care what I saw. One of the worst things you can ever do, and this is kind of some sidebar, worst thing you can ever do is train with a person who says, show me someone who's doing it. Show me someone who's done that move in a game and they didn't get it called. You don't want to be around anybody who lacks vision, folks. And I'm being real with you. If they lack vision, you need to run. Now, I'm not talking about it in every aspect, but if it's basketball and they lack vision, stop talking to them about hoop. Talk to them about coloring, or crayons, or drawing, right? Or Netflix specials or something like that. Lead a basketball to people who have vision, right? Who saw people jumping from the free throw line before it happened, who thought about 360s before they ever manifested in real games. So that's very, very important, guys. So in closing, right? In closing, stop arguing about this dumb shit. It's ridiculous. Stop arguing with everybody because you want to get comments and people to follow your page. I know what trolling is about, guys. Let it go. Let it go. Pick your guitar. Do your crossword puzzles, and nothing's wrong with this stuff. But you don't see us coming on your page saying that crossword puzzle is all wrong. That you're terrible at the guitar if I've never played before, or played at that level, or even reviewed a rule book. That's it. That's no nets. And night night.